The night air in Beijing was colder than usual for early September. The wind that howled through Chaoyang's empty streets carried a smell of rain, cigarette smoke, and something metallic that clung to the air long after the sirens had gone silent. The building stood tall and indifferent. A 32-story tower with mirrored windows that refused to give away its secrets. Police tape flapped against the stone steps, and a single umbrella lay overturned near a spreading pool of rainwater. Its handle cracked like a broken wrist. They said Menglong had fallen. But when I arrived, it didn't feel like a fall. It felt like erasure, something deliberate. Quiet, almost practiced. The officers at the scene barely looked up as I showed my credentials. They had already decided it was an accident, a drunk man. A balcony, too much rain. Enough sense. Case closed. But I had seen too many accidents that were too neat. Too fast, too tidy. Something about the stillness of that place, the absence of chaos, of mourning, of shock, told me there was more buried beneath the silence. The glow of the streetlight. I noticed a smear of dark liquid on the railing above. Half washed by rain. Blood, faint but there. The kind that came from skin split by struggle, not by fall. I looked up. The balcony on the 21st floor was open. Curtains swaying like breath. A camera light blinked faintly behind it, security. Maybe, or something else. Later that night, I sat in my rented room 2 blocks away, replaying the image over and over in my mind. Official report claimed that you had been drinking heavily after attending a charity gala. That he came home alone. That he lost balance. Gravity did the rest. But gravity doesn't delete phone records. Gravity doesn't wipe camera footage clean. The first person I spoke to the next morning was the building guard, a man named Zhao. His eyes darted toward the stairwell as he lit a cigarette. Heard voices, he muttered. 2 of them. One was Yu's. The other. I don't know. But he sounded scared. He hesitated. Glancing at the passing patrol. Someone came to see him that night. I swear. Timeline didn't make sense. The last video of Menglong posted on Weibo was at 9:11 p.m., smiling, joking, thanking fans. The call to emergency services was logged at 11:48. Somewhere in those missing 2 hours. The actor who once charmed millions vanished into a void that no one wanted to examine too closely. And then came the coincidences. 3 names appeared again and again in the days leading up to his death, people whose lives he had changed. People he had once saved. Li Wei, the young actor who had confessed to attempting suicide in 2021 until Menglong personally took him to a clinic and paid for his treatment. Director Han, whose career was salvaged after Yu vouched for him when scandal threatened to destroy everything. And Mei Lan, a fan who fainted outside a concert hall and was carried to safety by Yu himself. The photograph of that moment had gone viral, making her a minor celebrity overnight. They were the lives he had saved. That all 3 had been present at the same charity gala the night he died. Li Wei was the easiest to find. He at a small bar in Sanlitun. The kind of place where the lights never fully illuminate anyone's face. He arrived late, smelling of whiskey and fear. Yu was different after that event, he said quietly, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. He told me once, not everyone you save stays grateful. I didn't understand what he meant. When I asked about that night, Li Wei swallowed hard. I went to his apartment, he admitted. Just to give something back, a jacket he lent me during filming. That's all. His eyes flickered to his wrist. A thin red scratch ran beneath his watch. He wasn't alone. Li Wei added after a pause. Someone else was there. A man. Maybe. I didn't see his face. After he left, I sat in that bar until closing, watching the reflection of neon bleed across the window. Bartender cleaned glasses in silence. The hum of the city distant and muffled. When I stepped outside, a drizzle began to fall again, the same cold, relentless kind of rain that had soaked the pavement beneath Menglong's body. 2 days later, a package arrived at my hotel. No return address. Inside was a small brown envelope containing an SD card and a note scrawled in black ink. He recorded everything. The file was dated the night of his death. It lasted only 47 seconds. Static filled the first few moments. Then came the sound of heavy breathing. A struggle, a muffled cry. Frame was dark. Tilted, a phone camera dropped on the floor. For a split second, a reflection caught in the glass table showed Menglong's face. Pale and desperate. Voice, trembling. whispered something almost drowned by the storm outside. "You shouldn't have come here, not you two." A loud bang, then silence. Ended abruptly, leaving only a hiss of white noise. I replayed it again and again until dawn, trying to catch something new, a sound, a shadow, a clue. But what lingered most wasn't what I saw. It was what I felt. Menglong didn't sound drunk. He sounded betrayed. And as I watched the rain begin to fall again outside my window, the truth started to take shape. Fragile and merciless. This wasn't gravity's work. It was something far colder, the weight of 3 debts unpaid. The fall was never about balance. It was about trust. And trust, once broken, is the only thing that falls without ever hitting the ground. The rain returned to Beijing a week later, but unrelenting, as if the sky itself refused to forget. By then, he had already moved on. Fans left flowers beneath the tower in Chaoyang. Media outlets printed recycled condolences. And the police report, thin as the air before dawn, remained unchanged. Accidental fall. But the video haunted me. Each night, I played it again, dissecting every sound. The second voice was there, low, trembling, angry, but too distorted to identify. On the 37th replay, I caught something I hadn't noticed before, a faint echo after the bang, a woman's humming. 3 notes. Familiar. Traced the melody for days until it surfaced on an old clip from 2018, Menglong performing a fan song at his concert, dedicating it to someone named May. Chest tightened. Mei Lan. Her name had already appeared in police records. She'd been questioned once, briefly, then released. The file said she'd moved to a psychiatric facility 2 years earlier. Visiting hours were strict, but journalists have ways of slipping through cracks. The hospital sat on the outskirts of Beijing, where the smog thinned enough to see the mountains. Corridors smelled of antiseptic and damp paper. A nurse led me to a room at the end of the hall, where a soft humming echoed from within. Mei Lan sat cross-legged by the window, surrounded by hundreds of drawings pinned to the walls. Every one of them was Menglong's face. Some smiling, some blurred by smudges of tears. When she turned, her eyes were bright, almost feverish. "He came to see me," she said before I even asked. "Promised he would. On the night he died." She smiled faintly. "He said he forgave me. He said it was time to sleep." Her hands trembled as she reached for a notebook, flipping through pages of scrawled words and half-finished sketches. One line repeated over and over, "He saved me from pain. So I saved him too." The humming grew louder. As the same tune from the video. I left her room shaken. Outside, the nurse whispered, "She talks to him every night." We thought it was harmless. Back in the city, I found Director Han. He lived in isolation now, his home buried behind untrimmed bamboo. Cameras pointed at the gate. Welcomed me with a cold grin, the smell of alcohol clinging to every word. "You journalists never stop, do you?" he said, pouring himself another drink. "You want the truth? The truth is that Menglong wasn't a saint. He played the hero too well." "What do you mean?" His eyes glinted like broken glass. "He threatened me. Said he'd expose what I did years ago. People deserve to know who I really was. After everything I did for him." His voice cracked with bitterness. "He said kindness meant accountability. I told him kindness gets you killed." He laughed, hollow and brittle. "So go on, write that down. The great Menglong wanted justice. But justice doesn't keep you alive." Hands shook so violently that the glass slipped and shattered. Sound echoed through the room like the end of something sacred. At night, I reviewed my notes. Li Wei, the broken protege. Han, resentful mentor. Mei Lan, the obsessed devotee. Each of them bound by gratitude turned rotten. Each had something to lose if Menglong spoke. Police timeline said he returned home from the gala at 10:03 p.m. Li Wei's phone pinged near his apartment at 10:26. And his driver logged a toll receipt from the same district at 10:40. Mei Lan's phone went dark at 11:05. 11:48, he was dead. I went back to the building. Rain slicked the pavement, washing away the chalk outlines that had once marked tragedy. The elevator doors opened with a metallic sigh. The 21st floor was silent, the hallway dark. His apartment door was still sealed with yellow tape and torn at the edges. Inside, everything remained exactly as the photos showed: overturned chair, Broken glass, untouched meal. The smell, dust, damp. Faint traces of cologne, still lingered. On the wall near the balcony, I found faint writing, nearly erased by cleaning spray. Traced the letters with my hand. Forgiveness doesn't mean survival. The words were written in Menglong's handwriting. My recorder caught the faint creak of the balcony door swinging in the wind. For a moment, I thought I heard his voice, soft, pleading. Tone from the video. Not you too. Things snapped inside me. The line wasn't addressed to an enemy. To someone he trusted. I left the apartment shaking. The rain following me down every street like a whisper that refused to fade. At a corner newsstand, a magazine headline caught my eye. Actor Li Wei cancels interviews following Menglong controversy. The photo showed Li Wei in sunglasses, head down, walking into a van. On his wrist, barely visible, was a fresh bandage covering the same spot I'd seen before. I knew then. Betrayal wears familiar faces. Back in my hotel room, I pieced it all together, the gala, the debt, the threats, the visit. Maybe they hadn't meant to kill him. Maybe it was panic. Maybe it was fear. But in the end, intent didn't matter. He had saved them all, Li Wei from despair, Han from disgrace, Mei Lan from madness. Each of them, in their own way, had pushed him closer to the edge. It wasn't cinematic. It wasn't a grand conspiracy. It was worse. It was human. The next morning, I returned to Hohei Park. You had once filmed his music video, Falling Light. The water was still, reflecting the pale sky. I took out the SD card and held it up to the light. Then dropped it into the lake. It sank slowly, leaving only ripples. In my final report, I wrote, Menglong didn't die from the fall. He died the moment he believed goodness could change the hearts of those it saved. He mistook gratitude for loyalty. Redemption for love. In the end, it wasn't the world that betrayed him. It was kindness itself. That night, I dreamed of the balcony again, the wind, the sound of rain. The whisper of a man who had given too much of himself to people who couldn't carry it. He was standing there, calm, almost peaceful, looking out over the city he'd once loved. And as he stepped forward into the dark, I finally understood what he meant when he said, "You shouldn't have come here." I wasn't talking to them. He was talking to me. Because some truths aren't meant to be found. Some stories end not with justice, but with silence. When kindness becomes a weapon, even angels fall.